Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for Game 2 of this Best of 3 series between Mao's Mana and Liquid TLO. The map is Ohana LE. Ohana, of course, means family in Hawaiian, as Mr. Bitter always likes to point out. In the lower right-hand corner of the map, we have the red Zerg player, Liquid TLO, the victor of game number 1, and his opponent, the man who's currently down 1 game in a Best of 3 series, which is a pretty big deal. That is the blue Protoss player, Mao's CC Mana. Now, I know that first game did look pretty one-sided. TLO basically in control the entire time with the very fast third base and then fourth base. Well, third base, then macro hatch, then fourth base after that. And just the swarms of the Lings and the Mutas overrunning Mana pretty easily. However, don't count Mana out yet, because that was essentially an extended build order loss. I mean, the reason Mana lost that game is because TLO did a strategy we don't see too often recently, and Mana just was not prepared for it. He didn't have any Twilight Council tech out, he didn't have Blink on the way or anything like that, which means Mutalisks are the most powerful things in the entire world and will kill you. So I'm sure Mana will either scout better this game or just blindly be safer and say, okay, you know what, we're just going to build the Twilight Council. Blink is a good upgrade to get anyway. Charge can be pretty handy too, depending on what strategy the Zerg player is going for, and maybe someday we'll get High Templars and just be ultra safe. TLO, of course, I have no idea what build he's going to do because it's TLO and TLO. Nobody predicts TLO. It's actually impossible. And I think TLO actually going to expand towards his third here. He saw Mana was patrolling his probe around his natural hatchery. He felt like he didn't want to deal with that. Well, no, he's bringing it back. He somehow knows this probe was gone. I mean, yes, I know he sees it now, but he actually started pulling the drone back before that probe came back to scout. And he has decided to just go for a spawning pool first. Looked like he was planning on doing a hatch first, but then saw that the probe was going to deny it and decided it just was not worth his time. And wow, that probe was as close as it could be to this hatchery without actually blocking it. That was kind of crazy. However, in the meantime, Mana has gone for, I think this is a Nexus first. Yeah, he did go for a Nexus first over here. So his natural going to be a little bit quicker than TLO's, which is always a weird thing when you're a Zerg player and your opponent is expanding faster than you. That's not a feeling you are generally happy about or comfortable with. The first couple sets of Lings popping out here from TLO, however, they are, of course, not going to get anything done, as this wall should be nice and tight and have a photon cannon behind it before those Lings are in any position to apply pressure. So both players this game going for very economically minded builds, very similar to the first game, actually. In fact, I think this is the exact same opening. Mana did at the very least. I don't remember what TLO did, but this is close. He may have gone for hatchery before spawning pool, but this is close. And yeah, okay, the third hatchery, once again, very quick here for TLO. However, this is a map, I feel like this map favors Mana a little bit more than it did on the previous map, on Cloud Kingdom, simply because this is a map where it's relatively easy to get 3 bases up, as it is on most maps in Starcraft 2 right now. Usually 3 bases not a big problem to make happen. However, both of the 4th bases are in kind of weird locations in a ZVP, because no matter which side you choose it on, you're expanding very much directly toward your opponent. Very much are you saying, like, okay, so we're back here on the edge of the map, and now we're like a third of the way across the map, and the same goes for this right base over here. So it does make late game Zerg a little bit more difficult, I feel, just because it allows the Protoss player to pressure it much more easily. On top of that, of course, for the Protoss player, if he wants to make uses of that Warp Prism unit, there's a big area here over on the ledge that's very easy for the Warp Prisms to drop in units. And I'm actually kind of interested by this spawning pool positioning. I think TLO just put this here so we could have this entire half of the ledge scouted out 100% of the time. And yes, of course, it's going to make it easier for Mana to get to that spawning pool and kill it if he does decide to go for any drop play. It will, of course, act as a early warning system for TLO, costing him nothing at all, assuming it doesn't die. I mean, he was going to build the spawning pool anyway. That's pretty standard Zerg versus anything, is to build a spawning pool at some point in the game. So, very smart play by TLO, really thinking with his buildings, trying to get as much out of each individual structure as he can, which is always one of those things I feel that divides good players from great players. You know, good players, they're macroing well, they're thinking about their tactics. They're like, okay, I just need I need a spawning pool. We're just going to put it wherever my mouse is right now, wherever it's easy. TLO, though, very much thinking like, okay, I'm going to build this spawning pool anyway. What is the optimal place for me to build it? And it looks as if he decided that the optimal place was at the top of his creep guarding this ledge. So there you have it. Now, we see the Scouting Overlord coming in. It's going to see... Oh, well, it might see this robotics facility. It might... Okay, it is going to see the robotics facility. TLO does, in fact, click it, so he knows that's on the way. I was going to be really sad for TLO if his Overlord died that close from scouting out anything interesting. But as soon as the Overlord goes down, we see the robotics facility coalesce into existence, and we have 2 more gateways, and it looks like we're going to have some additional ones to come. And this time, we are going to see the Warp Prism play come out from Mana. There's the 3rd gateway. A 4th gateway looks like it's on the queue as well, and there it is. And +1 attack already done for the Protoss units. So, wow, a 5th gateway. Jeez, Mana going to get very, very aggressive. Decides he doesn't want to try and face off against TLO in the late game. Wants to try and end him a little bit earlier this time, which is definitely a thing he can do. And I don't think it's because he's afraid of TLO or anything like that. I think it's just because he saw how TLO played the first game and identified, you know what, you're going really hard into your economy. I might just be able to set up a timing attack and kill you if I do it correctly. And that's exactly what Mana is going to be doing. So he has the Warp Prism out already. Here it is. I don't think TLO has scouted this at all, and it is 4 sentries, so he's going to want to try and drop on the high ground over here, and he's going to want to force field this ramp so none of TLO's units can get out there. And oh, this is the best time for him to do it. He knows where TLO's army is. There's going to be nothing here to defend against him, and this honestly might just be a kill for Man. This might just be a free win for our Protoss player right here, because this is going to be very, very difficult for TLO to deal with. Looks like he's electing to just go for a counterattack, running the slowlings and slow roaches across the map. Oh, that's painful to see. And he might be able to make something happen here. However, Mana is reacting properly. He's throwing down 2 more photon cannons. However, keep in mind, there are the destructible rocks over here, so if Mana spends too much time and energy defending this area at the front, he may get counterattacked, or flanked rather, from that side ramp over there. However, at the same time, we see Mana, of course, dealing all sorts of damage in the main base, as TLO can do literally nothing to defend against this. Now, TLO heading up the ramp right now, already taking down the Forge. How low is it? Looks like the Forge is going to go down with the +1 upgrade still in it, so that's not going to see the light of day. However, 3 photon cannons, 3 stalkers, and an immortal is going to make this a pretty invincible front door for the Protoss player, and it looks as if TLO, he's going to eventually lose this layer. Mana, though, he does have priorities. He knows the layer isn't worth anything if there are no drones to mine for it, so he focuses down all of the drones immediately. And TLO, of course, TLO, being TLO, says, oh no, my main base is getting destroyed. I better go build a 4th. Now the sentries have broken down here. That is an interesting force field, I do suppose. Doesn't really prevent anything from happening that Mana wouldn't want to happen, but okay. There you have it. Looks like he's just trying to choke out any roaches from being able to make it through. But the Lings are able to make it through, and they, in fact, a few get up the ramp. Mana forced to lift up that warp, or the sentries in the Warp Prism. And 1 sentry, will it go down? Oh, just barely not, and even better, it's going to get a force field off onto the ramp once again. So TLO, even though he brought back a lot of Lings, and ooh, there's a Nidus Worm. And you see, this is what I'm talking about. TLO, kind of a crazy player. He's taking 4th bases and building Nidus Worms all over the place while his base is in disarray. However, he's not able to get a Nidus Worm anywhere that matters. He is going to be Nidus Worming into his own base. However, Mana able to react in time. He kills it before, oh, actually enough units did get out there, and all the forces here for Mana are going to go down. And will this game actually go on? I think it very well may. TLO, he's still going to be on 3 bases to the 2 bases of his opponent. However, let's take a look at the... Yeah, even in army supply, TLO is leading. Now, a lot of that is roaches, which, you know, are a little bit heavier in army supply than they really can back up. If you have an army of like 200 roaches, 200 roaches, then you have like 200 blink stalkers or something like that. The blink stalkers are going to win. And even though TLO was able to defend that pretty well, even though he's Nidusing somewhere, ooh, maybe going for a counterattack here. This attack from Mana is very scary. It has a bunch of force fields. It is 3 immortals. These units all have +1 attack, and this could be pretty bad for TLO, especially considering there's the large potential of his army being very, very out of position as he is streaming once again up this ramp. However, even though there are 4 photon cannons, there are no Protoss units here. be able to defend against this. So we might see a base race, and I think we will. Man, I actually want to be killing the Nidus network here, and I wonder how this works. The Nidus network goes down, and okay, the units in it do not die. There's still a Nidus worm up here. I was really curious to see how that would work out, but TLO got in GG. He knows he can't win this base race. He can't kill the Protoss bases faster than the Protoss can kill his bases, and with that Nidus network takedown, he can't get his units back to defend. So there is the GG from TLO, and Mana is going to tie the series up 1-1. We are going to the third and final Game 3. Game 3 is, in fact, the third game, ladies and gentlemen. Just let that sink in.